Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. And Nick is here.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. And Katie's here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our Spence may still join us. I don't know. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is made possible by vMix Software and sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what is going on?
It's October. Happy Halloween.
Spooky season.
It is spooky season. That's a big fact.
I'll be happy to have the humidity gone. This drives me crazy.
There's no guarantee. It's still North Carolina. There's no guarantee that in October we're still not dealing with some hot temperatures and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true.
When is it too early to put up your outdoor Halloween lawn decorations? Can I do that now that it's October
March
1st?
is too early.
No, but I mean, like, can I do that now that it's October 1st? Is that appropriate?
Oh,
I've
totally.
seen in our neighborhood, it's like 2 weeks already. Some people have started. It's like,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a
doesn't
complete
make a lot of
ignorant
sense.
fool. Yeah, so I mean, I
Yeah.
just wanted to find the semi-appropriate time to do it.
Yeah, I saw people doing it as soon as there was I don't know, like a few weeks ago, there was like a cold snap and they took down all of their summer stuff and put up their October things. Then it got hot again.
Yeah, always. Well, we averted a shutdown, so I guess the show can continue to roll, right?
Oh, so they did have
Yep.
something that
Mhm. So I was concerned that we wouldn't be getting paid because,
Yeah.
Amnon is using running a federal government scam to pay us,
Yes.
and so we're good to go. Back on the air.
But this is only for a short time,
40,
right?
45 days,
Yeah.
right after the election.
Well. Let's see. This is kind of interesting the way that they go. Kia and Hyundai, the ones that everybody breaks into, say it's not their fault that their cars are being stolen in an unprecedented theft surge made possible by the vehicle's lacking of basic anti-theft technology virtually every other car has, according to a recent court file. Instead, the companies point the finger at social media companies such as TikTok and Instagram, where instructions on how to steal the cars have been widely shared and thieves show off their stolen cars.
As crazy as that sounds,
Yeah.
there's this Alexa, turn the studio there is this you've got these large scale smash and grabs that are going on. This past week it was Philadelphia, where you've got mobs of people just running into like Louis Vuittons and Apple stores and whatnot and just stealing everything.
Mhm.
There's a serious finger being pointed at social media for that too. And in the case of that, it's the groups are assemblings for all intents and purposes on social media. Obviously, is it social media's fault No. But and on the same vein of that as well, with a lot of this retail theft, the fingers being pointed at places like Facebook Marketplace and others that have seemingly no would have no real verification system at all for people that are selling products. I mean, the reason people are stealing these things is not because they are necessarily using them; they're stealing them and then flipping them online. Um, so there's definitely this kind of social point the finger at social media blame that's going on.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
do
how
something to
accurate
your
it is.
cars that people will not be able to do it. I mean, yeah, sure, they can put all kind of instructions of how to break into other cars, but it's not going to be easy for the bad guys to do it because the cars are equipped with means to make it difficult. Apparently,
Well,
with these two
sure.
cars, it's not.
Yeah, there's some
So
very lacking anti-theft protection for sure.
Yeah,
this is
well,
all due to some technology being very easily available today. There's this fobs where you can basically record RF communication and
mhm.
then replay them, right? And that's been the fad. That's been the huge fad, and it's being marketed over social media platform as a new cool thing. Uh, Again, I mean, if you try to point the finger at social media at this and try to have the social media companies try to police this, right? Then you're getting into difficult areas because what will happen when you want people want to coordinate going on a demonstration, right? Something that is like at the core of democratic right, right? Like of free people. What do you do then? The fact that criminals are using the platform, right, is not a way. It's not an easy switch of black and white, right? Of yes and no, of uh, this should be here and this shouldn't be here. There's no way of policing it without doing some sort of due process, right? So it's not on the social media platform itself, unless you want to shut down the social media platform completely. Uh, it's on the policing system, right? If you want to weed out the criminal element out of society, it doesn't exist because of social media. Maybe social media makes it easier, but social media makes it easier for a lot of other things as well. So, I mean, how do you deal with that? Nobody has an answer. They just have a blaming finger, right? It's like, come on.
This is
Uh,
just for PR. They want people to stop talking about how you could break into their cars, and they
exactly.
want them to shift their focus on something else that's easy to
Yeah,
target. That's all it is. They just it's not gonna change. Social media is not gonna change. Nothing's gonna change. It, it's they're just trying to help their image so people don't send them angry letters as much.
I
yeah,
mean,
but
on a personal note, my wife just came back from visiting family in Israel. And during her stay there, her sister's car, a Kia, was stolen right under the house in its parking lot. And when they got to the police to report the theft, the uh, the clerk he like when her sister said I'm here to report a stolen car, and he asked a Hyundai or a Kia. It's like it's everywhere, right?
yeah,
It's
it
not
is
just
everywhere.
yeah, it's
I'm just
ridiculous.
waiting.
But
I'm waiting for my car to get stolen because I also have a Kia.
What's your address?
Exactly.
Let me throw this out. I'm going to be careful with my words here because I don't want to get us in trouble on YouTube. So I'm going to spell out a word. But if you were publishing videos on social media on how to make some sort of BOMB, um, that that would be taken down. I mean
Yeah,
that stuff is not permissible on social media. That's the example that I think of. Not that I'm equating something like that to stealing a car, but you're still talking about stealing a car is a felony. I mean, you're over the threshold of um, any sort of petty larceny or something like that. You're talking about grand theft auto, which is a felony. So that's where yeah, I mean, obviously the fault is Key and Hyundai for having really shitty anti-theft systems, no argument about it. But there is some there social media platforms do have and have exercised in the past things like you know, terrorist devices and things like that that they do not publish on their platform. If you post things like that, presumably your account gets deleted or banned or removed.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering why this is any different.
It
Okay, so how is it different than lockpicking?
Well, I guess the difference with lockpicking is there are legitimate cases where you would need to lockpick something. I mean,
But that's how it's marketed, a legitimate case where you buy the fob in order to copy, right,
sure,
the device on your key for your car. That's how
understood.
that's how it's presented all the
Sure.
time. It's not presented of, hey, you can steal cars. It,
Yeah, but the
Okay,
thing
then there you go. Yeah,
but
that's very
but
much the
but
case.
guys, what, Gal, what does the fob do?
it just records RF and
No, 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 no.
replays RF.
So you have a fob and it's already programmed for that car. What can you do with that
Oh, you
fob?
can go online and you can download pieces of code that people already recorded.
That's not what I'm saying. You have the fob in your hand. You are the bad guy. You have the
Yeah.
fob. Here's the car. It
So
works on that car.
before he got to the car, he downloaded a piece of code
Again,
online
you're
that
you're
he
missing.
loads into the fob, and
Yeah,
the fob just plays an RF sequence.
yeah. You're missing my question. What can you do with that fob at that point once it has all the programming in it?
You play whatever you have
And
recorded on it.
then what? What does it cause? It opens the car.
Sure.
It
Sure.
doesn't help you steal it because you still have other steps to go through in order to start the car, to
No,
steer the
whatever
car.
opens the car is also the exact same process
These are push
for
button starts. These
yeah,
are not keyed
yeah.
starts. That's the other
Is
interesting
this
thing
how
about it.
your Kia is, Katie? I mean, you
No, wait, I thought because I have a key,
Oh,
not a
then you're good.
but I thought it was the key ones that people were stealing,
It's
not the
both.
fobs.
It's both. You
the
can
f-
still hotwire a key car, but you
Sure.
still need the key has the immobilizing mechanism where
right.
there's a an RF that same that same protocol, that same RF protocol is what opens the door as well, right? So the moment you can open the door, you can also start the car.
I mean, okay, so you can start the car. Now, what about unlocking the steering?
That's
It's all
hotwire.
part of that
Well,
fob.
Yeah,
then look,
that's
all
old school stuff.
yeah, but look, all other cars are the same. You have a fob.
Yeah, but cars has been stolen from whenever they were created. It has nothing to do with the technology.
So what there was there's something that we were talking about some months ago that I'm sure it's not just the Raleigh municipality, but other municipalities were giving
Yeah,
with
the steering
tax
lock.
money.
Yeah,
We're giving the owners one of them. What do you call those bars that go across the?
a steering
Yeah,
lock.
yeah, my
Yeah,
mom got one of those, and she's
Yeah,
like, "I'm not doing this. What the heck?" Like this big honking thing that she has to put on her steering wheel.
but
Yep.
look, that
well,
big hunger thing, right? That is more effective because the hardware that is required to break through that thing, right, is time consuming and clunky.
And loud.
So if you have that on your steering car, which is visible as hell, right, on a steering wheel, then the guy will just go to the next Kia,
yeah.
right? He won't stay on this. That's all it does. It's not like you can't go through this. It's just stealing another one will be easier,
Yeah.
which is the
Uh,
case for burglar or alarm, right? Burglar alarm haven't stopped any burglaries of really happening, they maybe averted a specific house.
Sure. That's why
Yeah.
people have the little CPI flag in their front yard.
Yeah.
But I
But
do I do at some point there is going to be, and it's happening right now. There's this greater questioning of these social media companies. And as Gal noted, yes, there are legitimate use cases for making your own
mhm.
fob. I guess the question is, um, at what point does the useful information what at what point is that superseded by just complete and total lawlessness? And again, I'm
So
not blaming the
remember,
social media companies. I'm just saying this is where the conversation is happening.
yeah, it's a complex look, it's a complex issue. It's a
Very
complex issue
much so.
that is forced by technology which accelerates something. And here it accelerates the spreading of information. Uh, and when you are to mark specific type of information unwanted, it's like, where do you draw the line, right? That's the conversation. That's why it's a problem. That's why there's no good solution. But the real question is, okay, so the fact that things have accelerated, do you need to point a finger of blame, or do you need to sit down and start figuring a solution, right? And media does only one thing, points a finger of blame, doesn't sit down and say there are better solutions, right? And then it points a finger of blame on government that says they do not sit down and bring a solution. There is no discussion. There's just shouting in the
Well, that's how
in
we
the hall.
Gal, how dare you? This is how we solve our problems. This is all we do is shout. And I find it quite offensive. And I'm thinking of you shouting and yelling at you because of your comments you
You see,
made.
we're living the American dream.
Yeah, hey, yes. If you don't like it, get the hell out. Yeah, exactly. That's my approach to it.
Well,
Um, well, okay. So before we move on from this, how about, like, I'm curious what everybody thinks. So you've got these, as I mentioned earlier, these large, and this has been happening in the last like 6 months or so. These large scale smash and grabs that are taking place at cities.
mhm.
What kind of um again, it is not the social media companies' faults that this is happening, but it is another interesting conversation. What kind of responsibility do they have on that stuff, if any, or is it kind of similar to what we're discussing with the cars? It's
So
information.
I don't know a lot about that.
Okay.
I think I've seen like literally. I don't watch the news, right? But while sitting in a restaurant somewhere, I saw like a snippet of a news article. So run through what's going on because I'm clueless.
So what's happening in it's prominently larger cities where you've got sprawling downtown areas. So places like LA, Philly, Chicago, places like that. You've got groups of individuals that from news reports are um coalescing on social media and planning these large scale robberies where groups of 15 to 30 people are picking a location, picking a store, and just absolutely ransacking it. And
Okay.
is being fostered on social media.
Yeah. So from the sound of it, this is no different than flash mob, right? It just here there's a
Similar.
monetary, right? There's a monetary. Sounds like somebody is manipulating. I'm guessing young people, right? Uh, to do something that they can later profit from, and it's affecting everyone because if a group of 15 or 20 or 30, even a 50 people come into a store, at least 3 to 4 people there will be manhandled on the spot, right? A criminal record opened. It sounds like abuse of power, which is not different in any other type of crime and organization. Somebody just figured out they can get away with it. Sounds like the police has something new to deal with. But is it a problem of social media? No,
Well,
I mean, if they
so
would have coordinated this over phone, is it the problem with the phone company?
no, but it transitions into a to the second part of the conversation where I think there is some responsibility of social media. The people that there are things that are being stolen are then being flipped on social media. And that is
Like,
so there's some legislation. Man, the name is escaping me right now. It's being all these major retailers and groups are backing it in the federal legislature. Um, to put more, it essentially to have social media companies, verify something when it comes to products being stolen. Flipping things on Facebook Marketplace is some people do that for a full-time job. Um,
yeah.
Flipping things is not the issue. It's that when you're stealing things and then flipping them, that is where the issue really. So the way I see it, a little bit less liability, not really their fault, quote unquote, on the groups of people getting together. That's kind of what social media is. But in
But
terms of
you're talking about regulating secondhand market.
well, and that's where I kind of have a little bit of a moral problem. I'm not a big fan of regulation. At the same time, when these people are not using these things and stealing them for themselves, I mean, it is almost exclusively being used as a an operation to enrich yourself and sell these things. So yes, there is some conversation about regulation on that, and maybe it's I don't know what kind of account verification or things like that are needed to do it. I'm not sure that Facebook has any right now. I'm not sure. Um, Maybe you have to have. I don't know if you have to have a phone number on file. I don't know what they require. But
Yeah, but the
that's
thing
also a
is,
conversation that's coming up now.
They are
so
regulating.
you mean,
They are eBay now is being sued
Oh,
by
really?
yeah, but
a bunch
through
of
eBay
state
you actually pay,
uh,
right? PayPal is and eBay, they're linked, and you actually
eBay
do the
eBay I
transaction through them.
yeah, eBay is being now sued by a bunch of states for allowing people to sell products that are illegal. Like they were talking about some kind of chemicals that were uh,
Mm-mm.
banned, things like that, that you're not supposed to sell, and they're allowing.
That's a
And
different problem.
well, no, I mean, but it's policing. It's fine. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
but
right.
Craig.
that's
I mean,
policing that already exists. That
he,
has nothing to do with freedom, right? So
no,
there's a law against the chemical to be sold,
right.
right? Then you can't sell it in XYZ locations. That's fine. That's something that there's already a clear law about what to do. What we're talking about is I want to sell this cup, right? Now I need to prove that I can sell this cup,
Yeah. Well,
right?
yeah,
That I
there
didn't
was.
steal it, that I didn't get it. What happens when you get something gifted and you want to sell it? Is it allowed? So it's the secondhand market is a secondhand market, right? Are you going to start policing garage sales? Are you starting like where do you? It's always about where do you draw the line, and the fact that it makes it hard for the police to do their work right now means the solution is probably right around figuring out ways of somehow monitoring large scale operations.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can think of, right?
To me, it
But
seems like it would be more geo fenced, geo blocked kind of things, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be an internet, a national thing necessarily, but in these areas where this stuff is more prominent, um, maybe there's a I'm not sure
I,
how they do it.
yeah,
It's
I
a
don't know
really tough
either.
situation for them.
I mean, nobody tried AI. ChatGPT can probably fix
It'll
it.
happen. It'll happen. It'll be disastrous, but it'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
you be sure that Kia in, I don't know, a year or two will say we have a fantastic security AI and it'll start logging people in their car, right? So
all right. Um, Katie, you are doing some kind of
Mhm.
publishing on Amazon, right?
Yeah, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing.
Amazon has created a new rule limiting the number of books that authors can self-publish on its site to 3 a day after an influx of suspected AI-generated material was listed for sale in recent months. And they did it specifically for the reader,
Eat Kindle.
the Kindle.
Nice.
So, I mean,
I
I
don't
mean,
understand the issue with this one. I mean, who cares if it's AI generated? What's the concern?
no, they said that well, there was a lot of there were a lot of complaints from people that like were travel books and things like that that were generated and it's being
Oh, yeah,
sold
that could
that
be a
were
problem.
not there were false information in it.
well, Amazon should be concerned from a quality standpoint because if the AI stuff is generated, it's not wrong to use AI per
No,
se. But
no.
what is wrong is if the AI stuff isn't being filtered or isn't being edited, so the information that it's producing is not accurate, and then the quality of goods on Amazon goes down, and then people start leaving one-star reviews, and then the trust in the brand goes away where people are like, well, if I want to book a travel book, then I don't want to go on Amazon because it told me that the United States was located in Europe or something. And so they're going to go to Barnes and Noble instead. So Amazon should have rules in place to keep up the quality of content so their trust in the brand doesn't go down.
Yeah, they should be.
But I,
yeah,
I
but I
think it's
think
crazy that 3 a day is still a ton.
yeah, exactly.
It should be like 3 a week.
Well,
Well,
Katie, it just shows you're underperforming and you should publish more.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I what am I doing? I'm slacking.
well, you think about it though. You've got major book, even mid. You know, you've seen the commercials on television or maybe the ads online of these self-published book companies. I mean that's kind of their business. So I mean that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
There
but
would
it's
be
per
3 a day.
author.
Is it per
Yeah, and
author or per account?
no,
No,
per
that's per
author.
author.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It makes sense, the limit, right? Like
Yeah.
3 a day though is a lot. I mean, now that
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a ton. Like, what the heck?
I
That's
mean,
each
they
week you're putting out 21 books?
well,
Yeah,
they
look, if
Hey, I'm
you're an
busy.
established author, right, and you have a series that you've written in the past and now you want to publish it through Amazon, then yeah, you might want to upload all at once, right? But that's a rare occasion. 3 a day, limiting it, it
I'd
makes some sense, but it's funny. Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to think that they actually looked at a bunch of different books that were listed and putting them with the authors and see when they were uploaded and that they did some research and they realized boy those things are coming in at 50 a day. They have different ones that and I'd like to think that they came up with that number because of what they saw is happening. um
I mean, I think they would have wanted to limit it to one a month, but they knew that they'll get backlash to that, right?
yeah,
So they're trying to figure out a way of what will be too much that will still allow them to sort of detect bad actors,
mhm.
right? But don't piss off actual publishers. And for now, that sounds like a safe choice. It's not. It's probably not the end of it, right? Because they're probably still monitoring it. They need to
Probably I
figure out how to block these accounts because they do not want that content at all. It's not like they want, oh, let's slow down the content. It's like we need to figure out how to identify the
yeah,
content. Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see.
Maybe that's what Kia needs to do. Like allow you to open the car only once every 5 minutes.
Sounds good to me.
Something like that.
Mm. Anyway, um, Nick,
Yo.
Epic,
Oh man, I know.
Yeah.
talk to us.
Do you have the headline in front of you?
Yeah, that they are
Can,
laying off 16% of its current workforce, which is like about 900 employees losing their jobs. And at this
yeah.
and at the same time, Apple is trying a day later, Apple is asking the court to look again at that decision that gave Epic a win. So it's a
So one of the things that infection used to be a podcast. That's a podcast I do. It's been a lot of Mondays the last couple weeks, but Monday early on in the week, we used to talk about survival video games exclusively. We transitioned about probably about 2 years ago to kind of more talking about the broader video game industry as a whole. And one of the things that Brian's been really passionate about, and we've been continuing to cover, is layoffs at video game companies. And it's been happening now for the last year. It's a lot of smaller studios, and it's been a slow trickle. Um, but this is not surprising how close that we've covered this stuff. The video games are leisure activities. You are spending money on video games in most of the case with discretionary income, and there is a lot less discretionary income available right now than there has been in the past, and it is really, really hurting these video game companies. Now, Epic's there are some other factors with Epic. They've made like gazillions of dollars with Fortnite, and that money is still trickling in, but it is also, it's also unsustainable. I mean, you're that money's not always going to be the same forever. And it's possible, and I'm sure some of those layoffs are people that they hired because they were just there's only so much you can do with your money. So you go on this crazy hiring frenzy, and then maybe you realize you don't need some of those people. But it from all indications that we have seen, it does appear that the video game industry is likely to go into some sort of recession just based on what we've been tracking the last year or so. Big time layoffs, and just folks are the economy's rough right now, and a lot of folks are having to cut in their budget, and they're cutting things like video games or season passes or microtransactions. They're stripping that stuff out of their budget, and it's hurting a lot of these companies. So it's crazy as it is, it's not really surprising at all.
It
Yeah,
also
but
follows the
15%.
it also follows the tech industry. So, like, making video games is in the tech industry. So if the tech industry is laying off a bunch of people, which it has been for the past year and a half, then the video game industry is gonna follow.
Yeah, yeah. It's we saw this back in 2010 after the recession. Um we saw the video game industry fall into a huge slump, and a lot of the indicators that were there then are here now. So what does that mean for the general consumer? For Epic, I mean, obviously they're still going to continue to produce Fortnite and their Unreal Engine. They'll keep up to date, but I think it's a general sign of just a slowing video game market, which means in all likelihood delays on game releases, lesser quality games from major studios, which is actually there's a plus side to it, and it's kind of up Katie's um, side. Is it that opens up the indie market when there's less major publishers and studios producing games on a regular basis. That opens up small groups of people, groups of friends, or other folks that are passionate to maybe break into a market because there's not as much competition at this time. We saw a lot of that from 2014 through about 2016, 2017, as the industry was recovering from the financial issues.
Mhm.
We saw this huge influx of these indie games coming out, some of them becoming major titles. Arc is a great example of it. Conan Exiles is a great example of these games that kind of just spawned out of nowhere and are now multi $100 million titles. So, um, what seems bad for the big studios and is opens up the opportunity for the little guy, which is always cool.
And they were talking also about the fact that in a memo that somebody saw that they said that alongside the 16% of staff being laid off, the company is also selling Bandcamp. I guess
Oh,
that's
interesting.
and is spinning off most of marketing company Super Awesome.
Mhm.
So they
Uh,
are
have
and
they moved into the mall yet?
no, no,
I mean, the place is in ruins.
yeah,
It's
Have they done any construction on it yet?
only deconstruction.
I have
I,
a I
I,
bet you they don't end up moving there.
I don't know. But yeah, they were also talking in that article about the fact that their income from Fortnite is going down, and
Which it it can only go down. I mean, you were talking about
right,
one
it
of the
was
most successful,
yeah,
profitable video games that has ever existed. I mean, it was only going to go down. Um, it will never go away, but it undoubtedly will go down, and that goes back to what I said earlier about there's only you can only there's only so much you can do when you've got billions, literally billions of dollars pouring into your company. You hire, 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 and that's kind of how the tech industry rolls. As Katie noted, they're very much the same. When the tech companies do the exact same thing, and things get a little slow, user base drops a little bit, you hack and slash. That's just kind of the industry.
well, all right. Um, we yeah, I
Are
guess
we
you are ready for
specials? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
right.
All right. We've got our graphic change at the top because it's now October. Oh, God, screen sharing.
just for you.
Oh, um,
That's the
Ouch!
town mall.
Wait a second.
Hold on.
There it is.
So
It's like a waste
this is
site.
that's how it looks from the outside. You just see. Well, there's no more rubble. I think they actually, yeah, you can see that they just cleared it away, but it's nothing
Good
there.
thing good thing, it says temporary closed at Subway, or else I would try to go there, but it's letting me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I would gather
Wow.
that they're not going to end up building that campus out. There's just no way.
I mean, when they bought the place, right, they were at their peak.
Yeah.
And that was pre-pandemic or that was
No,
during the pandemic?
it was it wasn't that long ago. I want to say it was less than a year and about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was after the pandemic started. Yeah.
At the end? Okay, at
Yeah.
the end. Yeah, but so that was their peak, right? That was when most people were busy in escapism and the video game industry. They had the 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 most successful free game, right? That
Of all time.
They
zero
all
zero cost to entry.
they
So
also paid a ridiculous price for it. I mean, ridiculously low price for it.
yeah, yeah. Well, was after IKEA
Yeah,
pulled out of that
yeah,
spot. So,
right. Yeah.
okay,
All right.
specials.
All right, Nick.
Okay, hold on. Let me get back here. Well, hold on. Go back to you didn't see my graphic at the top. We've
Yeah, I
added
did.
some Halloween activities here for for the next month. So Vegas has got this huge orb thing that you've likely seen, and somebody photoshopped a Windows 10 blue screen of death error message on it. So maybe you're flying in or out of the airport, and you just see this huge blue sphere, and it is a Windows 10, something went wrong, scan the QR code message. I thought that was pretty funny. Let's get into specials. Got actually good mix of things this week. It's been been kind of a rough couple months, so this is good. First off, this is a really base tier laptop, and I see I forgot to include the price.
Mhm.
This is a cheap, not powerful, very much use at your leisure, not a workhorse kind of computer. This is the Asus VivoBook 14. It's got a Core i3 11th gen, so 2 gens behind, e 8 gigabytes of RAM, and 128 gigabyte solid state drive. So this is the equivalent to a Chromebook in terms of specs. However, it does have Windows 11, which it is more than capable of running on this type of architecture. It's 229. So 230 bucks is not a bad deal. A copy of Windows is, everybody says, "Oh, it's $100." Nobody ever pays the full price, but a copy of Windows is 100 bucks. So factor that into the cost. Again, it's a 14-inch laptop, good for a elementary or high school student that needs a laptop for schoolwork. I always talk about the laptop that you keep in the living room that you use when you're watching television or something like that. Perfect for that. Um, or if you're just if you're out and about and there's just a couple of things that you don't want to do on your phone because it's the screen size and the user input is not necessarily the best for what you're doing. This kind of fits that bill for $230. It's pretty good. This is available over at Best Buy. The sale does end in 15 hours. So if you want to jump on this, you're going to have to do that throughout the rest of the day today. So 229.99 over at Best Buy. Man, I'm so tempted to buy this. I can't believe how cheap this thing is. This is a 75-inch on ONN brand Walmart Roku television for $498. Um, Obviously, you're getting a off brand. I believe On is manufactured by Vizio, I think is who does the On brand, which again is Walmart's brand. So if you're okay with having a Vizio television, you're obviously not going to get the support, but at $500 or less, if you buy a smaller size, the amount of support that you're going to get and the RMA process on a television isn't typically a good one anyway. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. It is 2160p, so it's 4K, and it boasts itself as frameless. You can see there's a very very thin bezel at the bottom, but through the on the top and the left and right hand sides, there's almost no bezel at all. So great for mounting on the wall. 75-inch television for sub $500. That's just crazy to me. Available over at Walmart. Next up, these things are getting a lot of attention. For a period of time they were called solar generators. That's still what some people call them, but realistically, they're power stations. Portable power station is a word that is used for it. It's a bank of lithium ion batteries in a something the size of like a small cooler. And over here at Costco, this is a name brand. You can go on Amazon and get some less than necessarily brand reputable. That's not a dig on the products. They're just no name brands that sell devices like this. If you're serious and need something like this for portable power, you probably are going to want to go with something more name brand. And EcoFlow is one of those companies. They're one of the leaders in this industry. Jackery and EcoFlow are two of the biggest names. This is their River 2 Pro portable power station. They plugging it into an AC wall outlet. They claim you can get from a 0 to 100% charge on the device in 70 minutes. So it's got some real fast charging capabilities with it. It is 768 watt hours. That is how the capacity is um, calculated. So depending on what you're plugging into it, you do your calculation and see how that would work out. It's got a bunch of different charge options. You can put a solar panel on this so that it does charge and keep your battery kind of topped off during the day. This is one of their smaller units, and that's why the price is only $400. They do sell much larger ones that are the size of like a full wheelable cooler that you would bring to the beach or a tailgate. And those are in the thousands or multi thousands of dollars, depending on the size. This is a nice little one if you are somebody that is maybe doing some light camping. This is not going to run a whole bunch of things, but it'll keep your devices topped off and things of that nature. So the EcoFlow River 2, it's available over at Costco, normally 630 on sale for $400. I believe it's online only, so you'll have to purchase it and have it shipped. And that deal is good. It says through the end of the month. So you've got through the end of October to purchase this over at Costco. Next up, I always like to put this in here whenever I see it on sale. If you have a console center in your living room, then you've got a bunch of devices that you've got connected via Wi Fi and only one Ethernet connection. You'll be surprised streaming, playing video games, things like that, how much better your experience can be when you connect your Roku, your Apple TV, your Xbox, or whatever through Ethernet. You can get a $19 8-port gigabit unmanaged switch from Netgear on Amazon for $19. So always like to include that. Next up, Robo Rock. It's not a Daft Punk song. It is a vacuum. It is a robot vacuum available from this company called Roborock. They make it. They're the ones that are selling it on their website. It's got a couple of the features that make these things pretty cool. LiDAR is the big one. The early home unattended vacuums worked almost exclusively on floor mapping. So you would have to go through the device would have to go through and map the room. And when things changed or when there were objects on the floor, it couldn't handle it in the most sophisticated way. It was working in more of kind of a block system. But now these new ones have lidar on it, which is a type of radar navigation, and it can pretty much get right up to an object and pivot its way around it and continue mopping or sweeping or doing whatever it does. This thing it's only 2.4 gigahertz for Wi-Fi, so be aware of that. Works with Amazon and Google Home. Um, and you can buy docks and additional things and whatnot for it. So this is the Roborock's Q7. It's available for $379 over at their own website. Next up, this is actually being sold from Harman, the major audio brand, but it's a JBL product. If you can scroll down there, Amnon. Um, this is just a regular, pretty simple sound bar, but it's made by JBL. And JBL has been one of the more reputable brands in audio. I mean, they've been making speakers for what 40 plus years at this point, if not even longer.
Longer.
They've been around forever. So this is just a traditional two-channel sound bar. You wouldn't believe how shitty your TV speakers are until you hook up a sound bar. It's really amazing. Even a cheap one like this. MSRP on this is normally $200. So this is not a cheap sound bar by default. You can get really cheap ones for 70 or $80. This is normally $200, and you can get it from Harman Audio on sale for $81. If you go to the website, says $200, add it to your cart, and then the price jumps down to 80. So check that out. This is more of a compact one as well, so it might be good for an office or bedroom. It's that's one of the size features of this. So check that out over at Harman, link in the specials there. Next up, oops, I lost my. There it is. Next up, a 3-pack of indoor Bluetooth temperature humidity monitor systems. This is good if you've got areas, basements, crawl spaces, things like that, where you'd like to be able to monitor temperature and humidity and make sure that things aren't out of control, sheds, things like that. So you can pick this up. You get 3 sensors. The Groove stuff is all connects through a hub, and then it updates through an app. You get 20 days worth of online data storage. You can export 2 years worth of data to a CSV format at any time. So you get some cool data mapping with this if you're trying to figure out what's going on with maybe a crawl space or basement. You can do some pretty in-depth number crunching with the CSV format. So that is available over at Amazon, and the Govee makes a lot of really cool stuff: water sensors, lights, things like that. They're one of the more popular brands there. Two final things before we wrap up specials this morning. A 3-pack of Blink Mini indoor security cameras. If you are in the Blink ecosystem and you're looking for some cameras, a 3-pack for $40 is a hell of a deal. It's 60% off. You're paying less than $15 a camera. So, pretty good deal over there. And then finally, I thought this was cool. It's expensive. You can get a water heater for a couple $100, but I thought this was pretty neat. It's got some interesting features on it. So it's a 50-gallon hybrid high efficiency smart water tank. It is electric. It is not a gas water heater, but it's got Wi-Fi built into it. And you might think, well, what's the point of that? I don't know if you've seen this, Gall, but there's this growing trend. I'm not sure that I'm going to do it, but there's this growing trend for people to attach um, for all intents and purposes, smart plugs or water timers or other things to their hot water heater so that they don't have power all day. There is a lot of studies and people doing research and figuring out, you do not have to have your hot water heater necessarily running all day. There are periods of time where it can be 3, 4, 5, 6 hours without power in the middle of the day when you're not home. The temperature doesn't drop a significant amount, and the boiler is not constantly running to keep the water up to temperature. It's more of just a tech nerdy thing that's going on right now. But this one, because it's got Wi-Fi, you can set schedules. It will automatically learn when are the peak times that you're taking showers and using hot water, and it will adjust its heat schedule to that. So this is more of an automated way to do this without daisy chaining 120 volts through a sprinkler timer, which a lot of folks are doing. So it connects through Wi-Fi, and that meaning that it's got an app. You can put it in vacation mode. You don't ever want to turn your water heater off because bacteria can grow inside of it. But the vacation mode lowers the temperature to a safe level and will keep it there until you get back home. The other cool thing about this is the water actually comes in on the bottom, which is not necessarily good for everybody depending on what your setup is. But the water comes in at the bottom, and on the water intake, there is a shutoff valve. And on the bottom of the unit, you can kind of see it in the picture. There's these little red pads all along the bottom of the unit. You put this in a water pan. If it detects water, it will automatically shut the intake manifold. It will automatically shut off that intake valve. Now, that's only helpful if the water heater itself is leaking. If you have a leak in a pipe somewhere else, obviously that's not going to do any good. But talked a lot about those automatic shutoff valves that you can purchase secondhand that connect to your quarter turn valve and shut it off. This is built in, and the leak detection is built in too. So maybe if you have a rental home or something like that, and you just don't want to deal with necessarily being notified or not getting a notification, this might be a good unit for you. So pretty cool features, and not just this is not the electric Wi-Fi connected toaster that seemingly has no useful benefit. This is property saving features, like not having a water heater spill hundreds of gallons of water all over your house. So check that out. It's available online, or actually, it's available over at Home Depot. It is $1,500, but it's 17% off. So take that for what it's worth. Available over at Home Depot.
Funny what you described
Fine.
as the trend with shutting off water heaters. That is basically by law in Israel. In Israel, the law states that for a new home, right, and this is since mid 80s, if I remember correctly, uh, every home must have a solar water heater. So they're connected to power, and you can activate them, right, especially in winter days, but they are all hooked up to a solar panel heating the water. This isn't electric power heat collecting solar, transferring to electric power and then activating the heater. It is the heat of the sun basically funneled through a high efficiency uh, collector, which is exposed to the sun and basically heating water by the sun. So all of water heaters in Israel, when a constructor builds a new house, there's at the on the roofs there are the solar panels and the heaters are adjacent to it, and the controller within the home has just an old school timer switch, right? Just the old school dial where you push the pins for when you want it on, when you
Mhm.
want it off, and that was done in order to conserve
Electricity.
power consumption
Yeah.
during peak hours, right? So to allow people to switch on their water heater before they come from work, because once everybody's at home, power consumption rises all across the country, right? And so, uh, very, uh, very funny that tech geeks today are talking about solutions that
I
a
mean,
small country is being doing that for as a practice, basically manually for years. So,
they keep telling you, and there are a lot of uh, studies about it, that water heaters are the most power consuming devices that in any home, electric one.
well, I would say
And
more than power consuming, power wasting, because you
wasting.
do
Okay,
not
yeah,
need.
it's
Yeah,
right. It's
yeah,
wasting.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you talking about now they do it. I remember when I was a kid. I mean, we're talking 60
exactly.
years ago. We had a water heater that was actually central, but it was working on um, shoot, not gasoline.
Hummus and falafel.
No, I'm trying to think. What do you put in those space heaters?
Kerosene.
Kerosene.
Oh, yeah.
And we would only turn it on when you had to take showers. It was, and most of the time it was once a week. All week long we had hot water, but it was from the solar collector on the roof. And it's yeah, it's great.
I, I
I was thinking about building one of those water heaters for the fish pond outside to heat the water, because all you need is just have pipes running through the collector and a pump
Yep.
that's circulating. You were gonna say, Nick?
I will say this for anybody that's listening to this. There are, as I noted, there are some potential health issues with the water not being kept at certain temperatures. So please don't
Yeah,
take any advice from this. Do your research on what level
right.
that bacteria and stuff can grow, because there is some you can have run into some serious issues with it. But it is interesting. A lot of folks, Gal, are using things like Home Assistant and these other little smart devices to control these. If you've got just a traditional water heater with just a regular thermostat in it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Elmore
No, I mean,
says, or Eleanor says, "Yep, I turn mine off now when I know I'm not using it. Just flip the breakers." Yeah, if your breakers are inside, that's easy. Mine are outside on the back side of the house, so less than ideal to to turn the water on and
That
off.
I mean, that's that the other problem with doing it this way is sometimes you forget to turn it back on.
Well, and that's when you can, and then to heat the water from not cold, because it's never
Right.
going to get cold, but to
From
heat the water back up from
w
whatever that there's a threshold temperature, that's very expensive.
Yeah, you did not save
Um,
anything. Right.
you're not saving anything. You're
Yeah.
likely spending more.
Yep.
So yeah, you definitely need to
Nice.
do some research
That's
on it.
nice. Yeah. Very, very nice.
Eleanor's a trooper. She says her breakers are outside too. Well,
Oh.
you're better than I.
We were talking about adding, if you're thinking about that laptop with Windows costing that much or whatever. I don't know how much Windows 11 costs. 'Cause
$100 MSRP.
up till now, you could activate Windows 11 with Windows 7, 8, and 8.1, and of course with 10. In December 2022, Microsoft said we published a short PSA reminding users that they could still activate Windows 11 and 10 with valid Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 keys. This practice dates back to 2015 when Microsoft launched Windows 10 with a 1-year free upgrade Windows. Besides letting Windows 7, 8 users upgrade for free to Windows 10, Microsoft allowed activating its new OS using keys from the previous release. Upgrade from Windows 7 and 8 to Windows is no longer possible. And it now seems that Microsoft is removing the loophole to prevent users from activating Windows 11 with old Windows license keys. As spotted by Desk Modder, Microsoft published a message on the Device Partner Center notifying customers that the installation path to free upgrades from 7 and 8 to more recent Windows version is no longer available. What it means is that you can no longer upgrade from Windows 7, 8, or 8.1 to Windows 10 or 11. So they took that out. A
I
couple of
mean, they gave it for free for a
Yeah,
while.
for long, yeah, and a few months ago, I upgraded somebody to 10
Yeah.
from their 7, and it was fine, but apparently not no longer, which is, I mean,
I
how much is
mean, yeah.
how much is Windows 11? Anybody bought I mean, any of you guys bought, a copy from a store, you know?
No, but I mean, let's see.
Um,
There's a place I used to buy discount
Keys.
keys.
Yeah.
Let's see what they sell. I'll come up with the
Okay,
number in
alright,
in 2
that's fine.
minutes. Yeah.
Um, ChatGPT or AI. So there were a few stories this malicious advertisements are now being injected into Microsoft AI powered Bing chat responses, promoting fake download sites that distribute malware. Malicious ads spotted by Malwarebytes are pretending to be download sites for the popular Advanced IP Scanner, which has been previously used by Romcom, Rat, and Somnia ransomware operators. The researchers found that when you ask Bing Chat, how to download Advanced IP Scanner, it would display a link to download it in the chat. However, when you hover over an underlined link in the chat, Bing Chat may show an advertisement first, followed by the legitimate download link. In this case, the sponsored link was a malvertisement pushing malware. So you have to be careful in what you're clicking on. And we talked about this before. If you know where you're going to, if you're trying to go to Walmart, don't just type in the address bar or in a search Walmart. Type in the address bar walmart.com. You type Walmart, it's now becomes a search. And I know for a few customers that did that, that the first one, I mean, it looks legitimate when it comes in the list, and you click on it, and that gentleman actually went through, ordered stuff, added it to the cart, spent a long time. and it was a fake Walmart site. And I was asking, I said, "Well, how did you get there?" Because he wanted to get back to it, and when he went to Walmart.com, the cart was empty, and that's what bothered him. And he said, "Well, I typed Walmart and I clicked on the link." Uh-huh. Be very careful in how you get to websites that you know. It's just like if you know that mom's phone number is 919-123-1234, you don't call the operator and ask for the number for my mom. You dial it. You know it. That's the same thing. If you know the website, if you know the link, if you know the URL, just go to it directly. This is the safest way to do it. And talking about fake stuff and malware, there is a new, I don't know how new it is, product from Norton called Genie. Genie will take, if you have an email that you're not sure, well, is this for real or it's not? You
You
take
say
what
from Norton,
from
Simon
Norton,
Tech, you mean?
from Norton.
Not Simon Tech?
No, they say they call it. Well, Symantec owns Norton, but it's Norton's.
I didn't think that that
It's
brand
labeled
existed. Okay.
Norton's Genie. If you type in the search Genie, Norton Genie, it'll come to it.
Okay.
And you feed it, you upload the email or whatever it is that you have, and it's AI powered. They say that it's not complete at this point yet. It's still being trained. So you actually, if you're doing it now, you're helping it. And it will tell you whether it's legit, suspicious, or actual malware. For people that don't know, it's fine. I mean, you need to know how and what is things that you need to do. Last night we were hearing about a person that on her iPad, an elderly person that were on her iPad, uh, she couldn't use it anymore. It had a screen that told her to call this number, and she couldn't do anything with the iPad. Now, the way they do this is they put a pop up on the screen that you can't do anything with. I mean, the iPad is still working, but you can't see it because it's covered with that. Are there ways around it? Sure. But when somebody doesn't know what they're doing, and they say, okay, it's not working. So she ended up calling. And to make a long story short, she was scammed out of about 30,000. And my first reaction was, how do you pay somebody 30,000 to fix a $500 item? Go buy a new one. But the thing is, you don't think about it and you think about what you're going to lose. Now, again, because you don't realize that most of the stuff that you are using the iPad for is not in the iPad, it's out there. So if you throw the iPad away and you get a new one, you still have all your stuff other than the apps. And probably you still have the apps because they've been backed up or synced. But that's what happens. That's how they prey on people. And
Oh, it's not. Also, it's not rational. So the moment
right.
they get you, they it's a psychological attack,
Yes.
right?
Psychological
And
warfare.
it's the completely, because if you once you listen to the recordings of these, from as somebody from the side, you're listening to it, and you want to shout, "What are you doing?" Right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
notice, right? But
Yeah.
the thing is, they capture, they they get you into a state, a mind state, right, where you are not thinking straight.
Right.
You are
You're not.
doing things out of duress, and it is constant. They are relentless.
Hmm.
You, I mean, the only thing you need to do is just hang up the phone,
Yeah.
right? But people are programmed to not hang up the phone, to keep on a connection. And that is, I mean, the easiest thing is just disconnect, right?
Hmm.
Just disconnect. If you're unsure about something, disconnect. Forget about being polite. Disconnect. And then if it's important, there'll be a follow up phone call, right? You will maybe follow up phone call if it was legit, but disconnect. And that disconnection is just so hard. It's so hard.
And
You get frozen in
and
place.
and apparently, other people heard about it and were talking to her and said that you're being scammed. And she said, "No, they were so nice." Yes, that's how they're trained. These people, I mean, really, they could make a lot more money if they worked as in something that they could use those abilities, but they choose to use it for bad stuff. So be careful. I mean, you really need to understand. And I said, you're driving a car that costs $10,000 and it breaks down, and you go to a garage and they say it's going to cost you 30,000 to fix it. What are you going to say? Forget it. I'll
The
buy a new
memories,
one.
Amnon, the memories I
Yeah,
have with
I
that
know.
car.
I know. I know. So yes,
Yeah.
this is really, really, really bad. And there, I mean, here, and you can't get it back, and because it was a Bitcoin thing, and it's a shame.
Wait for when AI is going to conduct all of this instead of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Happen.
What else did we have here on AI? Okay, so now the article goes: web browsers have had tools that lets you translate websites for years, but they typically rely on cloud-based translation service like Google Translate or Microsoft Bing Translate. The latest version of Mozilla's Firefox web browser does things different. Firefox 118 brings support for full page translation, which can translate websites entirely in your browser. In other words, everything happens locally on your computer without any data sent to Microsoft, Google, or other companies. That's with the help of AI. I mean,
Yes and no. So here's my problem, right? They
y-
say in order for AI to work, to function properly, it requires a trained data set.
yes,
If they're saying that this is happening locally, that means I have, I don't know, 500 gigabytes of data, right, allocated that, um, for the browser, just so it can translate a whole page. It's a trade-off here, right? So it sounds like it's interesting. I'm not saying it's
uh,
bad in any way, but it's also, people need to understand the price for it, right? The cost.
yeah. There was an article that said that Microsoft needs so much power for training the AI that they are thinking about building their own nuclear power generator. All
Um,
right.
uh, the company I work for, they're dealing with one part quantum computing, where
Mhm.
they send a certain specific problem to a quantum On the other hand, we still need traditional computing to do a lot of the crunching that that is still very expensive, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes it requires hundreds of thousands of computing hours,
Hmm.
full CPU usage, and we're using cloud computing for that.
Hmm.
And before I joined, when they just started, there were they were thinking of various ways of, okay, so if we want to run it on our own hardware, right? How would it look like? How do we create the power that we need? And they came up with a lot of funny possibilities. Buying an island somewhere that does uh, that you can run some different ways of power creation and stuff. So I can see how a company like Microsoft would look into that. I
Yeah.
remember uh, Google has patents registered of creating power by wave movement
Yeah.
and putting in containers with data centers that are floating, and by the wave movement, they generate power. There's a lot of interesting ideas around power creation when it comes to this. Yeah,
Oh,
I wonder if any of these will ever come into fruition, though.
well, I mean, the movement, I think, is in the waves, I think, is being used
Yeah, there are
in the
some.
UK, in the ocean. They have the thing that 'cause they're using a lot of different ways to do it with wind, and so I don't know. Anyway, OpenAI says the ChatGPT is no longer limited to data before September 2021.
Oh.
It can now browse the internet to provide you with up-to-date information, complete with direct links to sources. Since the original launch of browsing in May, we received useful feedback. Updates include following robots.txt, the files, and identifying user agents so sites can control how ChatGPT interacts with them. So you can stop Chat. Don't let ChatGPT index this.
Mm.
Um, Browsing is particularly useful for tasks that require up-to-date information, such as helping you with technical research, trying to choose a bike, or planning a vacation. Browsing is available to Plus and Enterprise users today and will expand it to all users soon. To enable, choose Browse with Bing in the selector under ChatGPT 4.
Mm. I definitely could have used that when I was trying to do tax and government documents, because that stuff is a nightmare. And I was asking it questions about taxes, and I was like, "What form do I need to fill out?" And its answer was, uh, "Our information is dated from this time. This might not be accurate, but in the past, this is probably what they've used or what you can use." And I was like, "Okay." 'Cause, it's so frustrating that government stuff is so complicated that I have to ask AI to help me out or pay
Yeah.
somebody else to do it because I can't do it myself because it's so confusing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is something that Bing has been doing for a while with the ChatGPT engine. It's just now they're doing it through the engine itself. Interesting. It seems like there's a full blown cooperation there between Microsoft and OpenAI. It's not just a transactional relationship. Uh, some of the engineering that is done on the Bing side is shared with that. Even they say, right,
Yeah.
in ChatGPT, it's hooked up to Bing's engine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, the new there's a new version of Windows 11. It's not a full feature update. It's one of the uh God, what do they call those? The ones that you download from the website. You click a link on a Microsoft download site and it brings you to the updater. Um that where that Bing chatbot is now built directly into the Windows 11 search menu, and that just came out this past week.
That's the Copilot, whatever.
The Copilot, yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not a full feature update.
right.
So unless you have
Yeah.
either beta builds, or not beta builds, unless you have early access or early preview turned on in
Insider.
Windows Insider, that's it. Or you just go to the website and click install. Um, you can see that.
So
So pretty neat.
if we're talking about Windows 11 again, buying an OEM key can cost me right now for Windows 11 Pro $25, which is
Yeah.
full MSRP around 280, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
Now you don't get a CD, DVD, anything. I
no,
mean,
you just get the key, you
yeah,
download the
yeah.
OS, yeah, and you install it. Yeah.
All right. And Spotify is testing an AI powered feature that will translate podcasts from the likes of Dax Shepard and Lex Friedman, ever heard of them, to
Like
other
Friedman.
languages. They announced it last Monday. That, it's things that people are using AI for positive stuff.
But this has
Which
been going on for a long time, right? I mean, what are Google automatic captioning? That's AI, right? The
uh,
YouTube when you switch on, right? So now there's also automatic translation during that, which was a feature that I recall uh, was tested on some channels. So yeah, I mean, these things we're gonna see them more and more, and they're very useful. Nobody. That's the problem with technology, right? It is very useful, but we do not understand the implication. So we'll see where it takes us.
no, we'll see. And Google is notifying Gmail users that the webmail's basic HTML view will be deprecated in January 2024, and users will require modern browsers to continue using the service. After that date, all users of the popular webmail service will automatically be redirected to a more modern standard view, which supports all the latest usability and security features. However, I mean, you would say, well, yeah, it's about time, right? That they
It
do that.
depends.
However,
Depends who's using it.
huh?
Depends who's using it.
Yeah. However, one of the biggest reasons users use HTML view is that text to speech tools used by users with visual impairment are more reliable, as a standard view introduces technical complexities that are harder for these tools to manage. Nonetheless, Google has decided to retire Gmail HTML view without providing specific reasons. So
Well, the
people,
reasons is the maintenance,
yeah,
right?
maintenance, yeah, of course, but it's a shame that people that can't with vision impairments, blind
Well,
people.
it's a shame. It's a shame that a product like Gmail,
Mhm.
right, to rely that the that, let's say people with accessibility issues
Mhm.
do not have an interface that is clearly hooked up to the tools that they're using from a product like this, and they need to rely on generic solutions. That's a shame, I think. Like that generic solution should have some sort of back channel protocol directly to the application where it can communicate and provide the necessary
Right.
inputs, outputs, right? That's a shame.
Yeah. All right. GPUs from all six of the major suppliers are vulnerable to a newly discovered attack that allows malicious websites to read the usernames, passwords, and other sensitive visual data displayed by other websites. The cross origin attack allows a malicious website from one domain to effectively read the pixels displayed by the website from another domain. In other words, you're sitting at your computer and you are going to a site and you have to type your username and password. The malicious part of that video card driver, apparently, I would think that it's the driver, can read what you type on the screen, the pixels. Now, I don't know if anything today that when you type a password is actually putting characters. It's most of the time it's just asterisks, but it can read your username. Um, Attackers can then reconstruct them in a way that allows them to view the words or images displayed by the latter site. The leakage violates a critical security principle that forms one of the most fundamental security boundaries safeguarding the internet, known as the same origin policy. It mandates that content hosted on one website domain is isolated from the other website domain. GPU.zip works only when the malicious attacker website is loaded into Chrome or Edge. The reason? For the attack to work, the browser must 1. Allow cross origin iframes to be loaded with cookies, 2. Allow rendering SVG filters on iframes, and 3. Delegate rendering tasks to the GPU. So it's not that easy to do, but apparently they're coming up with ways to do it. And apparently, uh, Chrome and Edge do allow these. That's kind of scary. You type your credit card number, you type your security code, you type, things like that. Uh,
Yeah,
Bank.
and the article says under the hood, differences in the way Firefox and Safari work prevent the attack from succeeding when those browsers process an attack page.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay. I can be smug about it right now.
I use
I'm running
Firefox, so
Firefox.
I'm good.
Yeah, it's just
I use both, though.
it's bad. And they said that the GPUs from all 6 of the major suppliers.
yeah. This is interesting. It's like it's unclear to me even of how this is going to be patched if it is going to be patched moving forward. So Firefox,
The best.
when it comes to cross origin,
Yeah.
uh, I think they switched that on. I think we talked about it like a few months ago, 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe even a year. They switched that on by default. Uh, but that doesn't mean that some people had to disable that, right? Because of some incompatibility with something. So it's just relying on that can be a problem. It's interesting. It's an interesting issue. The article also states that there is a risk, but it is very low because of the combination of things that
Yeah.
needs to be allowed, which are allowed by default right now. But still, it's like that is something that might change in the default. But yeah, this is. I wonder if this is just going to be a situation where the browsers, when it comes to the third point, delegate rendering tasks to the GPU, right? It's you'll just go to a website And like today, where it asks you for permissions to grab your location, it'll ask, okay, can I give the GPU access to rendering the web page? And people are going to blanketly answer yes for every single site that's going to happen.
Mhm.
I don't know. It feels weird. The attack is unique, but the fact that it's out there, right? It'll be interesting to see if we're going to encounter this in the future. Probably what we'll see is that cross-origin iframes are going to be by default disabled on all browsers soon. That's just
Hopefully.
a push in the right direction anyway. So yeah, it's a strange one. I agree. It's a
Yeah.
very strange one.
All right, and starting on November 1st, Disney Plus will begin restricting password sharing in Canada. Disney has not provided many details on how it plans to enforce this policy. Its email merely stated that we are implementing restrictions on your ability to share your account or login credentials outside of your household. The announcement reads more like a strong finger wag than anything else. It says you may not share your subscription outside of your household. But they were saying that they looked at Netflix and they saw that Netflix actually added a whole lot of users, paying users, and they decided, hey, we need to do the same.
Is there a VPN service for copying an IP address? So like if you're
You
say
can
like
run one. You can run one on your machine.
well, for instance, for example, let's say my sister and I share a Hulu account, and uh, so if we can we copy one of our IP addresses so
Oh,
it
you
looks like
mean,
it's coming from the same house?
nah.
Yes,
No,
yes,
what
yes,
do you
yes,
mean,
yes.
yes?
Yes, you run let's say your sister is registered to Hulu, right? And you share that account. Okay? People are doing it today. The internet is full of videos of how to do that. You just run a VPN server on your sister's home PC, right? And you run something that on your router hooks up to that and connects to the VPN. Your home is going out the IP of your sisters, right?
Yeah, but you have to be
And by the way,
hooked.
you do not need it for all the time because an account holder, you're allowed to watch
Oh,
on your Hulu account while traveling, right? So all you need is from time to time when it's going to give you that notification is you hook up to the VPN, you authenticate, and then you continue traveling.
Hmm, interesting.
It's yeah, yeah.
but that would not work for your general use of the internet, having two different.
All you need is for a minute. Don't need it for the entire
Okay,
show.
all right.
You just need it
Yeah.
for the authentication for because you need to touch base every once in a while. They're allowing you to leave home and watch outside of home, right? That's part of the selling point of using streaming services is you can watch anywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you need to be home every once in a while in order to prove that this is home. That's the way they're doing it right now anyway, right?
So how do they determine which one's home and which one's not? Is it the
The
frequent using?
I mean, uh they they don't tell us, right? But it probably has to do with specific IP.
Because there's a situation. So the Hulu is registered underneath my sister's like sign up or whatever, but I'm paying for it. So it's my credit card information that's in the account, but it's
Right.
technically
So the
her
account
account.
has a shipping account and it has a billing account, right? Doesn't really matter that they do not ship anything, but there's always an address associated with that account. I'm guessing they can look up whether the IP blocks has anything to do with that. That's a possibility. I doubt they're that meticulous about it, right? But until you get hit once, right? That's when that's when you start learning how their system is relevant to your situation.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I won't do anything until it becomes a problem.
Exactly. And trust me, once it becomes a problem, it'll be very apparent in how to circumvent that.
Mhm.
Like they will actually provide you with all of the details you need. Oh, so all I need to do is go home once? Sure. Where's home? Blah, blah, blah. Right. Then you figure it out. So yeah, it's that's the situation is that th- in a way media reporting seems to show that they're trying to block the situation of you and your sister. The reality is they're trying to block more complex sharing situations where you got a bunch of unassociated people hackling basically, right? Selling access, uh, running a network of vacation homes, right? Stuff like that, like
Mhm.
large consumers of these, and they need a way of figuring it out. Uh, in the meantime, they're gonna bother us with those details, right? And we're gonna need to figure it out. And the thing is that the same solutions that we're gonna use, those bad actors are gonna use as well. They can't really stop it. Going by IP won't be enough. It'll probably end up with them asking to register specific devices with a certificate or something eventually. That's probably down 2 3 years going forward.
The way
And it's
YouTube
going to
TV does
annoy a
it,
lot of people. What's that?
the way YouTube TV does it, I think is probably the way most people are going to go. You get a period of time where you are on vacation, you're traveling, and I think that's 3 months on YouTube TV, and if you don't re-authenticate at your home IP address within that 3-month period of time, you lose, some channels, but there's obviously many different ways to deal with that, like you noted, a VPN once every 3 months to re-authenticate the person whose home address it is, them logging into your YouTube TV account once so that it's re-authenticating as home is also an option. Um, I'm going to be dealing with that here at the end of this month. I'm very curious to see what happens. Very
Huh.
curious. So,
So
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
ways to do it, apparently.
oh, plenty. Yeah,
Oh, all right. All right. So Apple has a new iPhone, huh?
titanium.
Apple's price, it's a good thing it's titanium. Apple priciest new iPhones are heating up in some scenarios, reaching high temperatures that make them difficult to touch at certain times, according to reviews, tests by the Wall Street Journal, and social media posts from buyers in China, the US, and Canada. Some iPhone 14 Pro owners have noticed similar hot temperatures over the past year. The high temperatures uh, in Apple newest 15 Pro models, typically when charging and using intensive apps, are prompting concerns that the company might need to address overheating in software updates that could impact performance. Premium iPhones have long been a critical cash cow for Apple as smartphones demand had slumped globally. So yeah, so they'll sell a bunch of them to begin with, and then they'll patch the problem that makes them hot, and the performance is going to drop some, and people are not going to complain. So, oh, you're good. It's not that hot anymore. But I can't imagine. So that's what I was saying. It's a good thing it's titanium, huh? Imagine if it was plastic. It would just melt.
Yeah, I've heard and seen a lot of videos, and again, I don't know how true this is because they may just doing it for the views
Yeah.
of people like breaking iPhone 15s that they're very flimsy, that they're like flexing them, and they're just like basically snapping, and the screens are cracking, and maybe because they're
Every other
advertising it.
phone.
Yeah, maybe because they're advertising it as titanium, people are spending the money to break them. I don't know, but
No.
I mean,
Titanium frame, right?
oh
It's the
yeah.
frame.
what was the trying to remember the last was it the 13 or the 12, the whole back pocket controversy where apparently everybody that put this phone in the back of their
Curved.
pocket sat down, it was bending, it was bowing.
Uh,
That turned out to just be BS as well. I mean, it just wasn't in certain cases if you were sitting on a specific type of material and putting enough pressure, yes, it would bend the phone. I mean, it is physics after all. Um, but that turned out not to be a huge issue.
Oh. All right,
I don't
Katie.
know.
What you're gonna say?
No, 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 no. Nothing.
All right, Katie or Nick,
What's
update
up?
about Unity.
Oh,
But
yeah, finally.
Go ahead, Katie.
well, I know that they've backtracked a lot on what they said they were gonna do. But at this point, it's too late for a lot of businesses because I've apparently they took too long to respond. It was something like 10 days before they made a statement after they made their announcement of the craziness. And a lot of businesses in that time, a lot of smaller businesses that were trying to contact their representatives, um, weren't able to get information. And then after like 5 days, they said, forget it. And they are dropping plans to use Unity and switching to their competitors. And I did see that some big studios were making press releases about how that they're dropping Unity, and they I can't remember which one did this, but it was some really big studio that made a bunch of money. But they're donating $100,000 to Godot and $100,000 to another open source game engine, and that they're switching from Unity, and now all of their devs are going to be learning Godot or whatever else that they're going to switch to. So good for open source game engines. They're about to get flooded with new talent.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, a lot of virtue signaling on social media about, oh my God, we're never going to use Unity. We're going to go use Godot or something else. I'm curious how many actually follow through on those plans. I think it's easy to say that. I think when a lot of folks dig into these engines and you lose the creature comforts of something like Unity or Unreal that has so many of those useful, helpful things, especially for folks just getting into game development, I think the reaction will be different. That's my 2 cents. Anytime any company does this, we hear the same thing. I'm leaving. Never. I'm done using the service. Then you look at the alternatives and you're like, well, damn. I mean, there's not really a lot of necessarily other great options on the market. So I'm curious what happens.
Yeah, it would be hard to make the business decision to switch because it's a lot of time and effort. But I will say that what did come out of it is all of this donation money to Godot, and
Yeah,
they
for
they
sure.
went from like doing $10,000 a month in donations to last I checked, it was almost 50K, and I don't know where it is now, but that's a lot of money. And so I'm excited for that for in the next couple years for Godot to elevate to compete more with Unity and Unreal. And I haven't used it. I really need to learn it. Reason I picked Unity over it is that Unity has so many resources online, and they have a school resource online where in 2020 they released these educational workshop things that were all for free that you used to have to pay for them, but they released them for free. So I did the programmer track, and it was really easy for me to learn it. I mean, it was hard because it's programming and I'm not a programmer, but it was digestible and I was able to do that. So there's a lot of resources like YouTube and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's good for a casual hobbyist like me because the more competition, the better. That means the better the resources out there for me and tools. So I'm like, yay, keep screwing up Unity, keep screwing up Unreal. Like more options.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you're talking about all the things that are involving that you use with Unity and Unreal. That stuff can be developed, and if they want to grow, they'll probably do it pretty quick, especially now that they have the money to do it. So who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean,
I'm not indicating that.
you can't just switch today, but
No.
you made up your mind, and it may take a little time, but you're going to open source.
Yes, which comes with its own set of challenges as
Yes.
well. I mean, all of these things have their challenges. I think what Unity did was boneheaded. They
Mhm.
came out and clarified that this past week, and they're they're continuing with a pricing structure. They're giving developers more of an opportunity as to what that structure is based on, whether it's based on overall sales or percentage of sales, things like that. um, but what this comes down to is how a company that is offering, and I think we talked about this, I guess it would have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. How does a company that is offering a free service continue to generate sufficient enough revenues where they can not only continue to offer the service for free, but also continue to develop it and expand it long term? It's one thing to just maintain and keep the product the way that it is.
Mhm.
There's another thing to keep the product the way it is and also continue to develop it at an incredibly high level.
Are you talking about
Um,
Unity? Is that what you're
yeah,
referencing? Because the
yeah.
people the it wasn't the free people that were complaining. It was the businesses that pay Unity to use Unity. Those are
No,
the
no,
people.
for sure. But the reality is there's so many people that are using Unity for free that they are having to, I mean, it's not free. It's not free for Unity. I mean, there's a cost associated with giving away a product for free, and that is subsidized by other things like the paid accounts. I mean, it's no different than free Gmail. It's subsidized by the fact that they
Well,
sell your advertising to companies and generate revenue, or they're
but this
subsidizing your free account with Google for Business or whatever. So go ahead, Dom.
um it's not exactly like that. So Unity, you can download it for free, you can play with it, you can use it.
Sure.
You cannot do anything meaningful with it without paying. So if you want to actually publish a game, right? Is you cannot go, hey, I leached on your product and now I'm going to profit. You can disseminate the game for free, but you cannot sell a game,
Yes.
right? So in terms of that, all they're doing is they are circumventing, they are controlling the piracy market around it. Instead of pro, pro, instead of needing to deal with pirates, right? Copying the product, uh, people generating some sort of illegal keys to use a product, etc. Right? They're saying, "Hey, you don't need to bother with that. Take this for free. Use it. We'll teach you how to use it." They are building their customer audience, and once somebody is ready to pull the trigger and actually make something of it, right? They'll be there to collect the money.
Sure.
So by them changing the pricing structure, as Katie said, that didn't hurt any of the free users. That hurt anybody who is already making money out of it.
Well,
And
that
that's the problem.
yes and no. You're right. It did not hurt necessarily the free users. What it did do, though, was hurt people that were on the very low scale of the income range. They added
Right.
some very, um, just
Hefty.
seemingly very loose terms for some of those low income generators. But I want to
Right.
go back to this concept of free. it is not free for them to give away their engine. It is not free for them to give away the resources. And as you note, goal and the intention is bring these people in, give them all this stuff, then eventually they turn around and pay for it and end up buying a subscription. Absolutely, that's the case. But to be able to provide all of that for free has costs associated, and those are they're trying to, and even with the paid versions of Unity, it's not like a video game engines were 25 years ago. It's not $150,000 to license and get access to this engine. It's in some cases less than $100 a month, or a few $100s a month for this video game engine. And it's, I would argue, relatively affordable. I don't think it's outrageously expensive.
No.
But you have to keep up with the development, and they're obviously competing with Unreal. Unreal is Epic. Epic, we talked about earlier, has had billions of dollars that they invested into the Unreal engine and all of those things associated due to Fortnite that started back in 2015, 2016, when that really started, or now probably 16, 17, when that really started taking off. I don't have a problem with charging, and the payment model, the new one that they've come up with. But as was noted, the way that they did this, the lack of the lack of transparency, and just the original deal as it was structured was really, really stupid. Um, so they're going to have to deal with the consequences and repercussions of that.
I will say, so I haven't looked on their website, so I don't have the facts in front of me. But reading people's responses and comments, I've learned some stuff. To get the pro version of Unity is like $75 a month, which is
I- Insanely
practically,
cheap.
which is really cheap. But the way that Unity and other game engines will do it too, is that you pay the $75 a month, and then if your game is super successful, then you get charged royalty fees on top of that. Uh, which is fine. I mean, the as it's that model where if you're successful, we're successful kind of thing. Uh, the the issue with these changes was the vague, like you mentioned, the vague language, and adding on additional charges that they weren't clear about. Because one of the things was like, oh well, we're gonna break it down even further, where here we're gonna charge for this, that, and another thing on top of this, that, and another thing, but they didn't define what those things were. And so when people start freaking out, because they'd be like, well, what does this mean? Like, does this mean, if I use this, they're going to charge an extra $5 a game and like all this other stuff. And so when they were reaching out to their representatives, like the representatives didn't have information for them because they were told not to comment on it because whatever they said could be used against them. So they waited so long to come out with the response that's why everybody was getting upset. So uh, yeah, they handled it really, really bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
And here's the
and
reality. A lot of folks are saying, obviously, Godot's a kind of a different situation because it's open source. I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, we're going to, we're going to Unreal." It's just another company
Yep,
that has
that's
terms of
exactly what
service
people. That's
that
exactly
they
what
can
people said
change
too.
at any time, and that's the reality. And
Yep.
I mean, companies make decisions. Sometimes they make sense. Sometimes they're stupid. Um, I still stand by the idea that this Unity decision, while it was stupid, there obviously was a lot of thought that went into it. This is not something, based on how in depth the description was, you're not just, that's not something you're waking up on a Sunday morning and like, yeah, let's just put out a press release about this, right? It's not a decision like that. I do genuinely believe there was good reason for them to attempt to do what they wanted to do. I don't believe it was necessarily just oh, let's go grab some more money from these developers.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
so
sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, it's just it seems on the outside like, oh, what the hell are you guys thinking? I have a suspicion if you were inside and in those conversations, it would be a very different vantage point.
I
Um,
100%, this was not a split second decision. When they had this planned out when they went public, when a company goes public and when they hire a new CEO, you know that CEO and I liken this to when a team hires a new coach, like a professional team, when they interview the coaches have to come up with a plan on how they're going to use the team, like what's the new plays for next year, and like what's the 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Like all of these people have these plans, and Unity a few years ago, we were talking about in the headlines how they were laying off a bunch of people. Well, they were trying the CEO came in, he was like, "Okay, my plan is to cut costs and raise revenue." Like, how are we gonna do that? We're gonna lay off a bunch of fat, what they see as fat and extra in the company, and then we're gonna raise the price of our services to match demand or whatever kind of flurry language that they use. And so it was like a 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and there's probably a 10-year plan. Now whether or not the people last the whole 10 years, but this is definitely premeditated.
Yeah. All right.
I know we're running out of time.
Yeah. Go
There's
ahead.
one more thing that happened. I think it happened this week,
Go
so
ahead.
it should be relevant. Reddit, uh, if you're using their mobile app, they have they came up with an announcement where they are removing the options from basically removing the privacy options that we used to see anywhere about personalized ads, basically forcing personalized ads on their service. So if you're logged in to Reddit, I'm not talking about those who are not logged in. That's a completely different situation, and that's using the web browser. But when you're logged into Reddit using their app, they are tracking you. There is no way of saying stop tracking me. Uh, that's a new thing. It has the community there is annoyed as hell because it's the second blow they've given with everything that has to do with mobile use. And I mean, media, m- social media in media discussion around Reddit, if it exists about how they're shooting themselves in the foot. But it does feel like this one is a huge turn turn down, and there's a huge migration again out of Reddit. So if you're into the Reddit ecosystem, or you've seen Reddit links, or you're interested in some way, know that this site is is going in a very bad direction right now. So I found it interesting.
Hmm. No personalized. Interesting.
No, everything will be personalized. No way of opting out
No,
of
no, no. Yeah.
personalized ads. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad I
it's
stopped using Reddit years ago.
I've literally, I mean, I've been using Reddit a lot, and I'll probably still open search results from Reddit, right? Because it still is a very effective source of information right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
But but I am definitely not using their mobile app anymore. It has gone. That is off limits. I have shifting to Lemmy and Kbin, which are open source solution right now. They're not perfect. They're open source distributed solutions. So you can host the data, you can control the data that you have. Uh, they are there. People are there, so it's not as prolific as Reddit in terms of everybody's on Reddit right now. Uh, there is a genuine shift into this Fediverse, something that me as a tech, I wish would have started 15 years ago, but it while it did start, it's slow to pick up, but it's starting to pick up more and more.
I use Reddit only for 2 things, sports and tech. So I follow my sports teams because that's where the game threads are for when there's a game day game, whatever, the fans are talking to each other. And then for tech, like 3D printing, there's a lot of troubleshooting going on in there. It's really easy for people to ask their questions and post pictures. And that's where a lot of the small kind of tech things have their communities. But yeah, I don't use it for news or anything
So
like
I
that.
really encourage you to check out Lemmy instances. Try to find Lemmy instances about 3D printing. I'm sure you'll find those. I do not know about sports, but when you say use, you are actually participating, right? You're like in the
Yeah,
comments. You're right,
I'm more or less a browser or a lurker. I don't really comment. The only time I comment is I'll be in game dev posts and I'll comment in there, game dev communities. But no, I'm
right.
mostly
So
just a
that's the
lurker.
part that I'm talking about. The participation. That's when you're required to be logged in. That is when you're tracked, and they are they are like right out stating you will not have the option to basically opt out of that tracking of any aspect of it. Right? And that is unacceptable. Like
Mhm.
people still need control, and it doesn't exist.
All right. Anything else, guys?
Nah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Gal. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Katie. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Donna, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner, and change same passwords where you use them. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And again, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM with his daily news and commentary show. You can tell your Echo device to play 980 The Wave, or you can go later on and listen to the recordings at nickcraig.com. And Tuesdays, lately it's been Mondays, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection podcast. That's gaming and survival games on Twitch. So Tuesday evening, twitch.tv/infection podcast. Take care, everybody, and be with you again next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.